Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to the latest episode of Vinyl and Vision. Here we are with episode 109. Today's very special guest is Conan Neutron. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. What you're listening to is the lead-off single off of the Adult Prom Split album, Split LP, with Lung and Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. That's the song Wild Antics. At the end of the episode, I'll include another short clip of the second single off of that album called We Were Wolves. So, I was very excited to have Conan on the show. He is a kind of a mentor of mine, someone that I look up to. I am a fan of his podcast, Protonic Reversal, and I guess I kind of led with that in our conversation. We discuss all the things, and Conan was very kind to share much of his time with me and share a lot of his thoughts and ideas, not only on the Dam's Machine Gun Etiquette, but obviously his history growing up, learning music, developing the band, Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, developing his podcast, and even how he became involved with creating or curating, you could say, Caterwaul Fest. So, yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot there. I tried to condense it down for everybody, for you listeners. So I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, all that we ask is that you please do all the things you do with the internet. Like, share, subscribe, comment, rate, review. All of those things, please. They help us very deeply, and they cost you nothing. And if you would like to help us in a financial way, you can always visit our website, psychicstatic.net, and just make a purchase on the website. Anything that's on there at all of it goes towards funding the show, and we sincerely thank you for it. Without further ado, here is the episode. Enjoy. All right. Well, Conan, how are you doing, man?
I'm swell, man. I'm
just got back from tour, right?
Yes, so I'm doing that weird thing where you try to adjust your schedule to, quote unquote everyday life. And
yeah.
There's always kind of a very fun period of your sleep schedule is not like correct for either lifestyle.
Right.
So that's what I've been up to. And it's good. Not quite as much of a car crash as usual because I've have a couple days in between doing day job stuff and getting back. So that's good.
Yeah.
Because that's good. The worst is like, all right, tour's over and 8 a.m. back at it. Great. Oh, that sounds lovely. That's not demoralizing at all. Or
I know, right?
Then everyone's, how was your vacation? Oh, my vacation was lovely. Thank you.
Yeah,
let's
it was
change the subject.
Packed.
Yeah, let's change the subject to literally anything else.
Yeah, right. Nobody can really relate to that. I mean, I assume that you kind of like associate or kind of like, have your circles run around musician types, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yes. That's a fair assessment.
So everyone kind of relates to the tour thing, but if you're not in that scenario, if you're not around musicians, then nobody understands what the fuck tour is.
Nope, not at all. They either are poisoned by that movie Almost Famous, or they have some other radical misconception of what it is. So for me, in non-creative parts of life, like obviously podcast people, they get it, but I can only sum it up by saying that I heavily identified with the USA Nail song, How Was Your Weekend? Where it's just like, yeah, it was all right. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
You just say as little as possible because there is no frame of reference. There's nothing you can say to someone that's not embedded in an understanding of that world that's going to get across literally anything of use or note, and it's only going to be a distraction. So that's just a different part of my life entirely. Yeah. But yeah, obviously I think any musician understands. I call it post-tourum depression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
Where you get you're like, oh, we're, especially when it's a great tour and you're like, yes, awesome. Everything's going great. Doing this thing I love. There's this great artistic exchange. You're having all these wonderful experiences and memories. And you're like, and that's over. Now you're doing this other thing. It's like,
yeah.
So there's a certain amount of just heaviness that can be in the air. Usually, I'm doing okay right now, though. Like I said,
Reality.
maybe there was a couple days in between. Yeah, reality. The heaviness is reality,
sets
right?
in.
So I'm doing okay right now, and I think the secret is that there were kind of a couple days in between to sort of get readjusted, which is great. If you can do that, that sounds awesome. But that's not a thing I'm used to doing either. It's usually just, headlong into the brick wall of everyday life.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So listen, can I just ask you first of all, like how often do you do this aside from like you have your own podcast where you do a weekly program? So I mean, like how often do you actually speak to somebody about yourself?
Well, when there's a new release, a lot.
Right. Yeah, I mean the press schedule, yeah, but I mean, like, so you don't do this fairly often. This isn't a regular thing for you.
About my art, not as much as I'd like it to be. There's a lot to discuss with Conan, Neutron, and the Secret Friends, and so not as much as I probably would like, but I don't know, probably as much as there's demand for, and I don't mind speaking on other subjects and talking about that as well. In fact, it can be super interesting. What I don't like so much is that as somewhat of I guess the word was used as polymath. Like I do a bunch of things. I don't like here's Conan, he does a bunch of things. I hate that. That pisses me off. I'm like that denigrates literally everything I do. And
yeah, I get you.
The show Protonic Reversal is like 10 years in April. What are we at? 350, 356 episodes, something like that. It's a big part of people's lives. And obviously I like doing it. I continue to do it weekly.
Yeah.
Like I must like doing it. Right.
Right.
And a lot of people find value in it. And that's not something I take lightly. But then there's people that listen to Protonic. No idea playing a band. And I think that's because I issue the model of like, here's the upfront, here's all my tour dates, playing here. Because the way people listen to shows and podcasts specifically, it's asynchronous. So you can do an episode and maybe someone's listening to that 3 years from now. That's happened a lot, especially during COVID when the audience like jumped up like 1,000-fold for Protonic. People were going back to episodes from like years ago and then responding to me as if it was in real time. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. That was years ago. That was literally years ago. And I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah.
So I've always eschewed kind of pushing the band because I figure if people are there for the show, then they're there for the show. They shouldn't necessarily have other things pushed at them. But I'm starting to rethink that approach too, because I'm like, people are like, hey, you got to let me know if you play Seattle. It's like, bro, we were literally there 2 weeks ago.
Right. Yeah. It's
because that's what it is now, right? That's what it is. It's like, nobody knows, nobody sees anything. And if they do, it's like, I think there's maybe a thing. And that's like the level that you get. And everything else is just this endless, just a full on fire hose of content.
Right.
So I think I've been remiss in using Protonic to mention Conan, Neutron, the Secret Friends.
Well, yeah, because it's like you don't want to be talking about yourself either so much on this program where you're supposed to be kind of like promoting yourself. I mean, like, or promoting somebody else. I mean, like your show, you're promoting whoever it is that you're speaking with, and you have great guests that come on that range from so many different like wonderfully talented like musicians that I kind of aspire to speak with myself at some point, because they're just like amazing people, and I guess that's all from your own kind of interest, like that. Like I don't know like how it is that you go about finding your guests. Like who you decide to ask, or it just gets presented to you and you just like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll talk to them.
Yeah, I mean, so interesting question. It's who I want to talk to, right? So the reason why the show works is because it's a discussion and there's a back and forth, and I have a frame of reference that maybe some people don't have, and the fact that I am actively touring and making records and never have stopped. But it started off with me just hitting people up. I get people that pitch themselves all the time now. PR people will pitch things as well. And, and I'm never shy about that. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. That'd be awesome. Or I don't know if that would work. Or this is the most common. I'm like, I don't really know who that is. Let me look into it. And then sometimes it's like, oh wow, this person's great. Awesome. Yeah, this will be interesting. And sometimes it's like, yeah, it's cool, but I think the reason why Protonic works and is as good of a show as it is because I have this deep familiarity with the subject matter. Meaning whoever I'm speaking to. Like I have this deep love that, like, if you listen to like Phil Calvert of the Birthday Party, it's one of my favorite bands of all time. So like I'm an uber nerd about it, and I frequently hear people, and I'm not trying to like pat myself on the back here, say like, oh, that was the best interview I've ever done, and I was like, oh, cool, awesome, thank you, because like I'm just asking the specific kind of nerdy ass questions that I would want to hear if I was listening to a show. I'm making the show I want to hear.
Right. I mean, that's kind of what this whole medium is. It's people that
absolutely
have decided to kind of follow their ambition to do whatever it is that they want to do, their own kind of like niche on whatever subject.
Right. Absolutely. So and also another thing to note too, and something that also differentiates from other shows isn't just like the big blockbuster indie rock famous, whatever you want to call it, folks.
Oh yeah.
I have it, try to balance it between folks people do know and folks that people should know, and then treat them with equanimity and treat the art with the respect that it deserves.
Right.
And
well, that's
hopefully
where you
the
have
depth
the leg up,
to.
because you're also in an active touring band, so you get to meet a lot of these bands that you develop friendships with, and if they seem to you like people that are lacking in some sort of stature, then you can help them out, right?
Absolutely. And sometimes that like it works out greatly. I'm not saying that I'm the cause of it, but Donna from Juna, like her old band, used to play with us in Chicago, and I always thought she was just like a complete powerhouse, because she is.
Yeah.
And like, and now people are catching on to that, as they should, because Juna's amazing and Donna's like an incredible human being, incredible artist. But I had her on before it was, like, it really was like, who, what, how do you spell that? How do you say that? I mean,
right.
People are probably still
DJ
doing that,
Una,
frankly.
what?
But
who's that?
but like, yeah, DJ Una. Oh my god, yeah, that's well, and I've got a sentence long band name, right? And that, by the way, not a recipe for success. And everybody, oh, do I have to type it all out? Yes, you do.
Well, I mean, but half of it is your name, so that's great. That's easy enough.
Yeah, and if I had to do it over again, I probably wouldn't, even though I think the name is very good. I probably would not have it be a sentence long band name. But I was thinking about, James Brown and the Famous Flames, and
of course,
the someone and the somethings. Like, I always like that thing, like that, whatever that is.
That format of like the person, the main character of the group, and then the band's name.
Right. And it's also worth noting that like it was not an ego trip. It was just, at the time, I'd been sort of controversialized and made into the story. So I'm like, well, let me lean into this.
You
like,
were?
Yeah, I was. And it's because I've always been more of the band name is a container for the art contained within. But then by the same token, well, I was writing these songs, right? But it's not, but Tony and Dale add so much to it, and Toshi produced it, adds so much to it that like it is a band too. So both of these things can be true in the same way. Like, it's not like, I kind of bristle when people say project. Like, project to me is like, I don't know, Alan Parsons or something. Like, it's not anything.
Well, that's in the title. I mean, that's what you're talking about.
Exactly. Which is peace and love in my heart. I'm just saying that, like, it's not. I don't think of it as like a like that way. And other people have, like, Mike Watt obviously is the classic example of, well, he calls them proges, right?
Proj, man, yeah.
When he can, when you address it with him, and everyone's got their own delineating line for it, but it is very much a band, but it's always different, always the same. I mean, live, it's always different, right? But it's always the same. The fact that it's the same songs, but recorded wise, like, it is what it is because of Tony's contribution and Dale's contribution and Toshi producing and engineering, and he adds a lot to the band as well. Not the least of which is being a very patient sounding board for all my nonsense, which has become more baroque and ornate and labyrinthian as time has gone on. And he's a very good filter for me in that. So which is a long way of saying that Conan Neutron, the Secret Friends, as the band name, as much as if people act like it causes them physical pain to put it on a flyer, I'm like, that is the official name of the band. What is the problem here? Like,
Right.
Like,
so wild.
Do you run out of letters in the marquee?
Possible.
Like you're typing stuff. Well, yeah, for sure for that. But if you're typing stuff into the computer, it's probably going to be okay.
Yeah. That's wild. So I mean, like to speak to what you were saying a little earlier about like, the perception that maybe you and your band receive as a project. I mean, like, do you think that's kind of because of the revolving live cast? Like it kind of seems like it's never the same thing. And therefore, if there's no committed members, I mean, on tape, it seems like when you record, it seems it's the three of you.
Yeah.
But for everyone else's kind of perception that they see, because they see you at the shows or they see what's being promoted in press, in the photos and so forth, even through your social medias, I mean, they see different people.
Yeah.
And so then that's not a band. That's just a revolving thing that revolves around Conan.
Right. So it kind of depends on the world that they're coming from. I think interestingly, people that are not from bands are more likely to intrinsically get it.
Right.
But in punk rock or noise rock or whatever appendation rock there is that we operate in, people are so used to being like, well, these are the people that are in this band, and it's these people that are on the stage and these people that are on the show, so on. So even now there's like a real kind of orthodoxy with it. And it's not just, I'm not pulling a Chuck Berry. I'm not showing up to a town and be like, all right, you guys ready? All right, it's in C, follow me for the changes. It's not like that either.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody that's in the live act is someone that I picked to be, because I usually, because I love what they do, I usually love their other bands. Their personality is a fit. That's actually a big thing as well. And it's not that they can just play. There's plenty of people that can play, but it takes a certain type of personality type to play in this band. Now, consistently, it's always been Tony on bass live and always me. And it's usually been about a 4-piece band. We've had it power trios. At one point, I think I had like a 7, 8, 9. I lost track at a certain point. I had a couple like big band formations that were just like, oh, I'm going to grow the band to the size of this incredible, crazy venue that we're playing. And that's a lot of fun too, because you get to like dig songs out that are like, oh yeah, we can't do that as a 4-piece band. There's not, like, it doesn't work the way I want it to. But there's just certain mindset, especially amongst noise rock people, that it demeans it as some kind of ego trip or something if it isn't just the same 3 people in a row.
Right.
And I hate that, because why are we holding on to these ideas of what it is?
Well, I think it's because
that's absurd to me.
Right. Well, I mean, like, it's kind of, so, we're going to be talking about The Dam tonight. And
stay tuned, everybody. We'll eventually talk about that record.
We're eventually going to get to The Damned and Machine Gun Etiquette of all albums of theirs, which is heralded as one of their absolute best. But so speaking to that and maybe kind of comparing the scenario, I mean, like, The Damned at this point, coming into their 3rd album, Machine Gun Etiquette, did go through a band change. I mean, and that's pretty much what everyone talks about when they talk about this album, is how they lost Brian James as the lead guitarist and songwriter, and Captain Sensible moves over from bass to guitar. And so I mean, it was really a big change, like band lineup wise. I mean, the three still original members, but I mean, writing wise, and like the process was completely different.
Yes, and people looked at it like a betrayal. Some people looked at it like, as I was like, what? How could you do that?
Exactly why, though. I mean, like, I feel like maybe your band has that perception. It's just like, it's not a betrayal, but it's just like, well, we don't know what to expect because we don't know who we're getting, except for you, Conan.
Yeah, but also it's my songs.
Right.
Like I write the songs, so if you like the songs, you will hear this. And I think for a lot of folks, there may be some of those reservations, but then when there's the understanding that, well, whoever it is that we're going to be seeing in the live, which isn't like a state secret or anything, it's just it's going to be someone awesome. It's going to be someone great. And maybe they favor certain players over other players. Okay, well, that's fine. But I mean, the way I'm able to do this flying circus is that, like, it's not even Tony's main thing. Like, he plays in it a lot, but it's like, it's my main thing. Like, and then everyone else are very giving of their time for it. And they come in these wild adventures with me and are valued members of the baseball team.
Mm.
But they can be on the bench and they're no less part of a team. You're still part of the team, and they could be like in the starting lineup and they could and be part of the team. But it's they don't have the same buy-in as the coach. I don't know why I'm using these baseball references, by the way, but anyway.
I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I totally get it. Don't
No,
worry.
I'm not either. That's what's so crazy. Like, I mean, like, but it's just, there's no lexicon for it creatively that I know of, so it's hard to describe.
No, I hear you. I mean, I thought you were talking about basketball, but I mean, I get it. I totally get it.
So I'm mixing all my sports metaphors because I'm just terrible at all of that.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that, like, people that do get something out of it, I'm not trying to denigrate that. It's just not my thing.
right.
And look, you know what else is in people's things? Being in a active touring rock and roll band in your mid 40s. So I get, it's fine. Like, I'm not one to to cast aspersions to people's interests. Like, what are you into? Shoes? Great. I don't know anything about that, but I'm glad you get something out of it.
I'm sure there's a podcast about it. You can listen to it.
Probably. And it's probably fascinating. But I think that there's so going back to, it's not the same band. So people have been like, when did so-and-so like leave the band? It's like, well, they didn't leave the band. They're just not on this tour.
They're just not available right now.
They're doing stuff with their band, or they're whatever,
right.
doing something else. It's a way. The idea is it's a way to run a live band where you are able to keep it interesting and cool. Nobody ever like has that sort of like burnout of, I don't want to do this anymore, because you don't have to do it all the time. And it's allows for different flavors of it, where it's like, it's obviously going to be a little bit different depending on who's playing in it. But, ultimately it is always different, always the same. And I never envisioned it for myself, but I basically knew that I couldn't do just a traditional same 4 people in a room band again. And you have to understand, I'm not someone that's been in a ton of bands either. I've usually been in I've only been in a few bands, and they're all pretty long lived. But my heart was too broken last time of like, I gotta figure out a different way to do this.
You're a long-term monogamy guy.
Long-term monogamous, you're right. Yeah. Jeez, dude, I've been married like 10 years in January, so I guess that's true. And I get it. And have you seen the damn documentary? I forget what it's called. I think it's like or something.
Yeah, it's that. No, actually, I couldn't. I was looking for it. I couldn't get it. It's not
really hard
right
to find. Yeah,
it's not free. I didn't feel like buying it. I can't buy everything for this show. I'd be fucking broke.
Yeah. It was streaming on, I don't know, one of the freaking things. Oh, I guess it's on Tubi now. Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
So I watched it, and it was cool, and I enjoyed it, and it was, good. It wasn't like, amazing. It was good, but I was blown away by like that. Like, it even took the tack in the documentary of like, oh, well, the damn lineup is really that's the definitive. Like, there's like people that like, it gets into that where it's like, those records were like so long ago. Like how are you still invested in this? Like, but then I guess that's how music fandom works, right?
Yeah. Some people get stuck in an era, I mean, like, and that's another thing about, bands and their lineups too, is that like a lot of the times if a band goes through a number of significant changes in their lineup, then some fans get stuck onto the era in which those members are part of it. I mean, think about Van Halen. I mean, there's the Diamond Dave fans, and there's the fucking Hagar fans, right? I mean,
I'm more of a Gary Sharon guy.
See, look at that.
No, that's not true. I need to make it explicitly clear that I'm joking. Like,
I mean, that's only like what, like he was in the band for months, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's a joke, right?
I liked them for those couple of months that he was in there. It was great.
Yeah, that's the contrarian argument, right? Oh,
right.
Really, Sharon, dude. No, but that's a great example, and I guess the Machine Gun Etiquette lineup versus the damn lineup is is that for punk rockers? I don't know. I mean, like
Maybe.
it just seems like such a interesting distinction to draw, because I don't know if you take like more of a bird's eye view of it, it's like, is it really that different?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. But it's funny. It's funny that you just have that perspective, and I think that you have that perspective based on what we're talking about, based on your own experience being in your band.
yeah,
But but before we get into the Damned and all that stuff, I mean, I do want to actually discuss you. As you said earlier, it's just
sure.
like you seem like this private person, like that you don't ever really get to speak about yourself. Where were you born and raised?
Oh God. So I was born I was born in a town called Modesto, California, which is,
Never heard of it.
yeah. Well, there you go. It's in the Central Valley. It has more in common culturally with like Nebraska or Iowa than Los Angeles or San Francisco.
Hmm.
The band
Okay.
Granddaddy is from there.
Okay.
So if you're familiar with that band, but it's not a hotbed of creativity and counterculture necessarily.
Right.
Lacey and Scott Peterson, if you remember that high profile murder, that was from there.
Yeah.
Gary Condit, the murdering congressman, he was later exonerated. He's
So a
from
lot
there.
of death got a Modesto. Okay.
It's just it's a farming town, you know. It's not like a village or nothing, but it's not a major
Sure.
metropolitan
Well,
area.
how far is it from like Los Angeles or something like that? Let's
Well,
say.
so it's about an hour. So LA is pretty far, but it's San Francisco. What is like hour 45 minutes away? But it's a
All
world
right.
apart. If you don't, especially if you don't have a car, like it's like another universe, right?
Okay. Sure.
So that's where I grew up, and this was before the internet made everything available. So when I was kind of finding my way into music, like just the idea of like, okay, you know, oh, the record store's gonna, they have a copy of like, you know, the Mudhoney record. Oh yeah, it's cool. Let's get it. You know, like, because you couldn't just, you know, fire up your phone. There it is. Okay, I got everything. Oh, who are the Cosmic Psychos? Oh, who are, you know, like whatever. Like going down the rabbit hole was like something that happened over the course of months, as
Oh
you
yeah.
as you like bought CDs with your minimum wage job money.
Right, right. And then you follow the trail, like being like, who's on this? Oh, and who do they thank? Oh, they thank this band. Oh, who's that?
The thank yous. I talk about the thank yous all the time because that was a huge thing for me to find these other bands. And then I worked at a record store when I moved to Oakland, and that, I mean, again, it's adorable to talk about, but just the availability of music to listen to,
Mhm.
like, was a game changer, because that's how, like, when I started getting into the Stooges, like Miles
At
Davis,
the record store.
Hank Williams Sr. Yeah, because like what I mean, and what I found is even these genres that I basically disdained, it was like, oh no, there's still stuff in almost all of these that I like, and that they're I can find something like really cool here.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
that's what led to my just absolute abject music nerdery, just born of complete enthusiastic amateurism. Uh, Whereas by the same token, in Modesto, like me and my friend Clay, our old friend group, we just didn't feel it. Like we didn't feel like we belonged where
Hmm.
we were at, and so we used music and movies to a lesser extent, and comic books and things like that, to like make like a little counterculture for ourselves. And it largely consisted musically of, you know, we would make up like album titles and logos and things like that. We never would get around to actually playing music usually, but
Yeah.
the most notable thing, and I'm kind of jumping around here, is that Clay just showed up at my door one day holding a bass. He's like, I bought this bass. You need to go buy a guitar so we can be a band. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I went and did it. And it didn't ultimately, with Clay and I, it didn't really work out. We didn't really do anything, but that set me on the path. I stayed on the path he didn't. And
Right. Right.
the first Conan Neutron, the Secret Friends record, it's a stylization by David Yao, one of the paintings that he was doing for a long time, but it's of promo photos that we took in high school because we were busy. We could barely write a song, but we were taking promo photos because, like, well, we have to be ready in case Rolling Stone calls or something, you know, spin,
Yeah.
whatever was the time.
How weird. Wait, so tell me, when was this that he brought the bass to your door? How
So
old were you?
oh God, I was like, like probably 15, 16. And then,
Okay. And so you hadn't played anything
Nope.
up until that point.
Nope.
No
And
musical ambition or what?
I just didn't really occur to me, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Like
Okay,
I was busy reading Stephen King books and comic books, I guess. I don't know. Like I
sure.
didn't have a dream of being, I mean, I basically I grew up around music, but it was like classic rock. Like my parents were really into like Sabbath and Zeppelin and Neil Young and
Cool parents.
yeah, well, yeah. Well, they also did a lot of drugs, so it's
Cool parents, man.
I also moved 22 times that time I was 17. So there's a
Yeah.
trade-off. It was
Okay. That's
pretty
weird. Yeah.
unstable environment in that goes. But I grew up with great records, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
my
Wait,
parents
so
saw the Ramones in Winterland.
nice. Well, so your parents were rockers? Were they like musicians? Were they band people or what was their
They
story?
well, they were ultimately kind just sort of like hippie types, right? But
Hmm.
where hippie stuff like includes like Deep Purple and stuff like that, things along those lines. And yeah, they taught me the power and the excitement of music at a very early age. So for me, and I always loved that, but then when I heard it was hearing Nirvana for the first time that I was like, oh no,
Hmm.
this is for me though. This is like what's happening now.
Right.
And then Nirvana beget like Mudhoney, Melvins, ironically, Sonic Youth, Jesus Lizard, Fugazi, yeah, down the line. But that was the first music that I had heard where I was like, oh, this is like now. This isn't like, and it's funny because like I listen to all the classic rock stuff still too, but it was that kind of made me like I want to do this, and specifically actually was hearing Unwound,
Hmm. Okay.
another deep irony since I ended up befriending and even like playing in a band, short-lived band with Vern, but
Hmm.
the but I was taught that enthusiasm early age in a almost structureless home life. I mean, they did the best they could, but like I said, we moved around a lot, and it was not because anyone was in the military. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And so that led me to kind of become good at creating my own systems and creating my own structures and ultimately kind of creating order from chaos, if you will, which has served me well. Just literally like being in a band, but running the podcast, Caterwall, like all the things that I do, like these,
Right.
it's how I grew up. Like so it's how I am, and the idea of like the idea of doing drugs, like I'm gonna rebel and smoke pot. Man, I had plumes of pot smoke around like the living room every day. That was not a rebellious act in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Uh, which isn't to say that I'm straight edge or anything, but it's just that like
Yeah.
that was
But
not forbidden fruit.
right. So you never went down that path. It never kind of occurred to you that it could be a fuck you to your parents to get involved with drugs at all.
No, in fact, if
It was
anything,
the opposite.
it was an fu to not do that.
Right.
And it's just funny to me because I know, I think like a small town thing, right? Is that by the time someone's like 19, they're already gone to rehab, which is I shouldn't laugh at, but I mean, it wasn't my path. Let's put it that way.
Well, good. That's great. I mean, and you're right. Obviously, it worked out for you. And so you mentioned it when you were kind of giving off your list of things that you're involved in. But Caterwall Fest, just quickly,
Yeah.
what is your involvement with Caterwall?
First of all, I like just saying Caterwall, even though it's Caterwall Fest on all the social media handles. But like, I think that sounds cooler personally.
Mm.
It's me and Reiner from Learning Curve are the founders. So, and it was a 2-man operation. We added Melanie on after the first year because it's a huge help and we needed it. But we don't like putting our names forward as like who it is because it's not about us.
Right.
But it's
Right.
about the community. It's about the bands, right? It's about the experience. It's about everybody coming together to celebrate all these freaks, nerds, and weirdos playing music with and to each other.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it isn't about Conan Neutron or Rainer Franz or or Melanie. It's not about those people, but I understand when people are curious about it, because just like with the band, I'm making the music that I would want to hear. With the podcast, I'm making the sort of podcast I want to hear. Like with Caterwaul, we're throwing the kind of festival that we want to.
With bands that you want to hear.
Be at. Yeah, with bands
of
we
course.
want to see and play with. And like, we have a specific ethos and mindset with it. And, some people seem to get something out of it, and we're having a good time doing it. And it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. When do you hold this festival?
It's in Minneapolis at the end of May on I think it's Memorial Day weekend, right? I always get those two confused.
Okay.
Memorial Day is May and Labor Day is September. Is that right? Yes.
I have no idea.
I just consulted my top researcher, and yes, that is correct.
There you go. All right.
I've never once in my life been able to get that straight the first time, though. I was just those two.
I have no idea. I don't even know why they wear white before, after Memorial. I don't know. I have no fucking idea what's happening with this country. I pay no attention.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's what I'm like. What? Why aren't you supposed to? And then I was like, well, I don't wear white anyway, so who cares? But whatever.
Like,
but
it doesn't matter. Whatever.
Who cares? Yeah.
I am not.
Why are you worried about other people are wearing? Yeah.
I am not patriotic, I guess, in that sense. I don't know. Sorry.
Well, it's nothing to do with patriotism, but it's just it's like a long weekend. So then, I don't know. We just claim that one. And that's we started up in 2020. We didn't get to do it because something happened. I don't know if you heard about this, but something kind of occurred in 2020.
Oh, really? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you heard about this? Yeah.
No, I don't know.
And then we picked it back up and picked up the pieces and did it in 2022, and then again this year in 2023, and then we have 2024 coming up. But I think it's probably a fair thing to say, at least from my side of it, that growing up the way I grew up in a less than structured environment has led to a personality type that is very good for these kinds of things. And then, we like to think we're doing something pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I mean, I've only just heard about it like 2 years ago, I think. Like,
right.
It sounds great. I mean, just kind of like this weekend is No Coast Fest in Texas, and so that seems like a similar kind of thing.
Like cousins,
noise rock cousins
or something. Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's funny you say noise rock too, because like I don't think it's a noise rock fest.
Because it's whatever you like, and it doesn't have to be noise rock.
Sure, yeah, but it's like I don't feel like, I'm not saying that I don't agree that there are noise rock bands that play it, but I also feel that anytime you put genre names on something, it's limiting, and I think getting hung up on that puts it in a niche. It puts it in its own record bin holder. Back in the record store I used to work at. Okay, well, that's noise rock. That goes here. And I just naturally bristle at that. Also, I mean, not the least of which, I mean, what kind of music does Conan, Neutron, the Secret Friends play? I don't know. Rock music? Weird rock music?
I guess so.
Like, it's informed from like punk rock and post-punk and noise rock and like all these other things, but what does it sound like? I don't know. It depends on the song, frankly. Like it's big weird rock music, and where's the genre for that isn't like whatever Josh Homme's up to? I don't know. There isn't one big genre for that. So people have no frame of reference for it. So
that's great. I mean, because that's really.
Is it? Okay.
No, I mean, like maybe you're not seeing the returns on that, but I mean, it's true because I know that I can appreciate that, and I would hope that other people can appreciate it too as music fans, to be like, oh, well, this band kind of just like covers a lot of weird stuff, and they just kind of like do whatever they feel like doing.
Right.
I mean, I kind of write in the same way. It's just like I don't have like one specific thing that I kind of want to achieve when I'm writing something. It's kind of like whatever happens, And so I do a lot of like weird noise, loud noise rock stuff at the same time, but I can also do like a folk thing like really easily.
Right. And I think some of the cool stuff has that sort of mindset where it's less genre exercise and more like where you can be like, oh, that sounds like them. Like, what does Tropical Fuckstorm sound like? I don't know. It's like,
that's like a weird one.
Nothing else, but like also exactly like them. And that's
only them.
Yeah. And no one could possibly sound like them, even if they tried. And I mean, I'm a big Tom Waits fan. You
Yep.
know, like you can always immediately identify a Tom Waits song, even if it's like, the loungy stuff or the, yeah. And I say that as a fan, by the way.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Uh, the Fall, Sparks. I mean, a lot of my favorite bands are easily identifiable as themselves, but
Right.
maybe they have one thing that's like a musical identifier. But I mean,
Uh,
look at Melvins, right? Everyone
sure.
thinks of like the slow, sludgy stuff. It's like, well, that's one thing out of like 40 that they do. And there are whole bands that like their genre is, oh, you listen to Gloomy Porch Treatments. Okay, cool. Good for you,
Hmm. Right.
But
Well,
as a band, they do a lot of different things. So they sort of like transcend the genre. And
right, right.
not that that's like the stated goal to transcend genres or anything. It's just it's gonna come out for Secret Friends, it's gonna come out through the meat grinder of my mind.
Hmm.
And it's going to come out the way that it comes out. So there's going to be things where it's like, oh, that sounds kind of like Cheap Trick. That sounds like Devo. That sounds like, Mean Streets era Van Halen. That sounds like the Jesus Lizard. That sounds like, whatever. It's going to come out the way it comes out. And hopefully it comes out as sounding like the band.
Right, right. So now, speaking of influences, you were just kind of listing off some of the things that obviously have really influenced you in a way. Some
Yeah.
of which you have given me a choice of.
Right.
This
Right.
was very interesting for you to give me a choice of an album to talk about.
Then they were different. They were different choices,
Very
right?
different. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And I was like, I would equally like opine at length about literally any of these.
Right.
So
And it makes sense because I understand choosing a record is a hard thing to do. Like one out of all of the thousands that you may like and that have had some effect over you. But so we narrowed it down to the damned Machine Gun Etiquette.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
which I
So
think is like just far and away one of the best records of that era. Like just absolutely all the chips, like one of the most underrated records of that era. Like
sure.
it's I mean, and what I love about it too is that it has that punk rock sensibility, but it's got like there's it's got like that Motorhead sort of like Judas Priest intensity, but then also like there's these huge hooks. I mean, smash it up. I know we're gonna get into it, but like piano.
Hmm.
There's like piano and stuff with it, but it's all done to this incredibly like propulsive brattiness that just from the mindset of me and what I love as a musician. Like I just absolutely like love that kind of stuff where it's like, oh no, we're gonna take every crayon in this box and we're gonna make one hell of a collage here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so tell me about your experience with the Damned's Machine Gun Etiquette. When was the first time you heard it?
Yeah, this would have been when I was working at the record store, and there was a was it a C? I must have been a C. It must have been a CD or something. There was a CD, and it actually had the it was a reissue, and it had like the bonus tracks, which had a
Ballroom
it had a
Blitz.
cover of the Sweet song, Barroom Blitz,
Yep.
and Suicide and Rabid, I believe, is that the pronunciation is over there, Rabid Over You instead of Rabbit Over You, and a freaking and White Rabbit of all songs too.
Oh, right.
Which arguably not quite necessary. But then I was like, oh, well, what's this band? So I heard Machine Etiquette before I heard Damn Damn Damn. And then like a girl made me a comp tape that had neat 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 on it. And I'm like, oh, this is cool, right on. And I was like, oh, that's the Damned band that has yeah, let me listen to this. And like basically from like the first few seconds of like Love Song, I was like, okay, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Because it had this like theatricalness to it, this like pomp,
Right.
if you will, to it, and just the brattiness of starting off with like the sample. I guess that dude is like the ladies and gentlemen. How
Soap
like
opera.
yeah like he's like having like that as the intro, and then like the big like rock and roll arena rock kind of like squall, and then and it's like, oh cool, awesome, this is not anything that I've heard before, and it totally rules.
Right.
I was like instantly in. I had a cassette that I would put in my Walkman, and I would walk to work and back every day, and that's one of the ones in heavy rotation. So that, the Ramones' first record, Daydream Nation, my Sonic Youth.
Okay,
And
so heavy, mostly punk stuff, kind of like heavy chord heavy, punk. The Sonic Youth is a little bit of a different from those other bands you mentioned, but yeah, okay. And that's all that era. Like, what year was this that was happening?
that would have been like 90, 96, 97, probably.
96.
So I was just
Okay.
moved out on my own, just was on Oakland, like didn't have a car, was literally walking to my minimum wage record store job, like 2 miles or something, like which seems like nothing when you're young. Great, let's go, let's walk. Whereas now it's like, oh my God, that sounds terrible. But I was like, oh, this is my opportunity to not be in my studio apartment with like, my best friend and like another guy, and like I can have time alone and listen to this like really thrilling music that, transport me while I'm walking to go sell Garth Brooks CDs to people, whatever the hell it was that was going on at the time.
Right. Yeah. Garth Brooks is a big sell in Oakland, huh?
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know if that's what it was. I'd have to look to see like what was the famous. I could probably tell you what it actually was.
Ah, no, that's fine. It's all right.
But it was always like, it was never anything. Never anything I liked. I know that. I was, and
really?
that's why when somebody came up to like, oh, this is great. Like someone came up with like, oh my God, I must have lost my mind. Someone came up with a shellac CD once. I was like, oh yeah, this rules. You're gonna love this. It's great. Yeah,
That's
cool.
awesome. Yeah,
and
man.
The next thing you know, someone comes with a Macarena, and you're like, oh, okay, fine. Again, it was formative for me as a musician and as a music fan, but yeah, I didn't work at the Cool One.
Okay.
Like at all. Like arguably, if your sensibilities lended towards that kind of music, then I guess I was the cool guy at the uncool record store, but no one, including myself, would have characterized it as that.
Right.
I just had like interests that were a little crazier and weirder than most.
Yeah,
the staff
fine.
usually had pretty good taste. It's just that what people were coming for was top 40. They were coming for whatever's popular. They wanted like your Mariah Carey or
Sure.
Honest Morissette, Gin Blossoms. Like that's what they were looking for. They weren't looking for oh, if you heard Funhouse by the Stooges. No, they would go to Amoeba for that.
Right.
They were not going to come to Tower Records. You kidding me?
Right. I hear you, man. Hey, well, look, you served your time. It obviously was informative, and as a musician, it seems like it's everyone's obligation to work at a record store for some period of time. So
it's the law. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
Whereas, and it's funny because like right now, it's like I'd be like, oh man, I'd be great at that now. Like if I just had like, but it would be like a super boutique kind of like, you probably wouldn't sell. You'd sell like one record a week or something, but you get to sit around and BS about records. I'm like, great, that's not even work. I do that.
That's
for
what
free.
I'm doing. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you're doing this show.
Man.
Yeah, exactly.
You just nailed me. All right.
You can just have like a bin up for like records for sale, and then like every once in a while one will sell, and you can call it a record store.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
You already got the logo. You already got the name.
I use that term very sparingly. So it's like, yeah, I'm a record store, kinda. Yeah. Whatever.
I mean, it's what is a record store in 2023? Right.
It's a room that has records in it. Okay, that's what the fuck a record store is. Stop hassling me.
Right. You're having the conversations. You're having the same conversations you would have in one. Right. So
yeah. Well, listen. So we were talking about the Damned.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. But I mean, like we were already mentioning "Love Song," the first song off of the album. And,
what a great first track, by the way. Can I just say that? Like,
it is great, dude.
Yeah.
So this album, I never listened. I think I tried listening to this album like maybe a year or two ago, like because I was just getting into like. I've never been a fan of the Damned, but I've heard their music and I've liked what I've heard. And I've heard how some of their records are like absolutely essential. Like you need to get into these. And so I was just like, okay, I'll listen to Machine Gun Etiquette. I hear people talking about this one a lot. Yeah. And I don't remember it being impressionable. Like I was just like, yeah, it's good. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely got some good songs on it. But now that I was actually sitting with it and really listening to it and like really listening to every song, I was just like, oh wow, this is a fucking pretty solid record.
It's very dense. It's a denser record than you think it's going to be. Like
by far. Yeah.
There's and even if you only knew damn, like you like, and I think maybe that was a turnoff to some people at the time because they're like, oh, what's all this extra? But like it's almost ADD in its sensibilities sometimes, but like in a good way, where it's like, oh, they're just you can't contain them. They're jumping around so much. They're doing this cool. They're doing this cool. There's a weird circus song right around in there. I mean, like, what is happening in this record? Like, it's crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're dead on. I know people that were like, oh yeah, that one's fine. I like the more straight ahead one. I'm like, yeah, but did you really listen to it? It's like when people talk about Rush, like, well, you got to admire the musicianship. Look, nobody said I didn't admire the musicianship. I said I didn't care for the record. Like, it's fine. Right. It's fine.
It can be a little boring sometimes. Sorry, Jesus.
All the respect in the world, but like, why do I have to proclaim that I respect them as musicians? Sure, everybody does. Like, right. And some of their songs are good, and I don't really like listening to their records. Sorry.
You're clearly not a Rush fan, because no Rush fan would have ever said that. Some songs are good.
I mean, yeah, but it's like Steely Dan. You can't invoke the name without getting involved in the holy wars.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So we're not doing it. But so the Damned,
as I just invoke both of them. Yeah.
All right, but we're talking about the Damned. We're not talking about Rush, the Damned. Steely Dan.
Much superior band to Steely Dan and Rush.
And kind of like same kind of mythology almost, actually, because they have such a large discography, really, and they're the only punk band that's still around, really, that's been an original punk band.
Yep.
And there's definitely a lot of what we were already talking about, like a lot of like people that maybe don't appreciate this album. Maybe they like a different era of the band,
like the goth era, which is what they did immediately afterwards, which I don't like as much.
Doesn't do it for me. I tried listening to the Black album, and like it's okay. There's definitely some songs I really like. It's kind of like Rush. It's okay.
Yeah,
they got songs.
You got to admire the musicianship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But let's see. Okay, but so Machine Gun Etiquette, love song. I fucking got stuck right away on this song as far as like talking points, because I was just like, what the fuck do I have to say about this song? I mean, it's a love song.
Yeah.
Right.
It is the thing that it's like Planet of the Apes. You know what you're getting into with the title, right?
Well, kind of. Yes and no, because so I know that I've heard from a couple of references that this song is about a train station.
Yeah, I'll be the luggage. You'll be the porter.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a weird
kind of way.
It's a weird association to like I don't know. It's like a loose connection to admission of love of travel, maybe connecting the idea of like train station, trains, and love to like love of travel, maybe something like that.
Yeah, well, because it's sort of like it's challenging the idea of what love is, and I think that there's a lot of the 60s, because remember the punk rock was like pushing back of like the excesses that came from like the 60s and the early 70s, where it was like, oh, this is the only kind of song that you can write, which is a love song, which is a traditional boy girl falling in love song. So the idea of like, well, kind of turning on its head and making it, I don't know, make it into something kind of cooler. And that's Dave Vanian in a nutshell too. Like that, I mean, credit where credit's due. That guy is remarkable lyricist, frontman, and just coming from that, Nick Cave kind of turning a phrase to be kind of like, oh, that's cool. That's like an interesting way of looking at it. I didn't think about that. And that's kind of what this is. I mean,
right.
There are obviously somewhat like absurdist metaphors in it. What is that? I'll be the ink on your season ticket card. I think that's one of the lines, which is sort of like, yeah, you could take it on the face of it as like, oh no, this is a love song about the adventure of traveling and doing things. But it's also sort of like you could also take it on the face of it of being a romantic love situation, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, but to speak to what you were saying, I think you're right. Where I forgot about the idea that they're pushing it back against like hippie culture and shit like that, where a love song is just your confessing love for a person, right?
Yeah.
And so this is where it's turning it on its head, speaking about kind of an inanimate object thing and having a love for that,
right? Which is just as valid. It just wasn't a rich subject for song material at the time,
right? But it was still hooky, and it's still like a very good like pop song, essentially.
Yep.
for punk in the 70s, you know. But so you know, with all of this stuff being said, I mean, if you had to write a love song, what would it be about?
Oh man. So you hit on something really funny because I pretty much don't
Write
write
love
love
songs?
songs.
Of course
Yeah.
not.
Guess why? I mean, well, I know people that do and they're very good at it, and that's awesome. But it's also I tend to like write about like weird like esoteric concepts
Right.
and then I'll throw something like relatable in there, but it's almost like, you know, it's just a lifeline from the space station or something. So if I were to be tasked with, like, I'm big with like, here's the mission I've given myself is to, you know, write to this title, like in dangerous nomenclature, or write to the song.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the interest in the love song as a creative trapping, it's like sports and being into food, which is to say the people that are into those things, if you say that you are not, they're not only immediately angry at you, they don't understand how you could not be into those things.
Right.
And it's like, oh, easily. Yeah, it's easy for me not to be into those things.
Yeah, I have something else.
I have something else I like. That's incorrect. That's an incorrect opinion, and you are incorrect for having it. And I kind of feel the same way about like love songs, where it's like people that are like, you know, like whatever, collectors of love, like they the idea of like, look, dude, I got a song called Paved Age. It's about the founding of the interstate highway system. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that's where our sensibility is. And I get it if someone just wants to hear about like a sweet song about how like you know, the girl's really pretty and he likes her and stuff. That like maybe that's like trying to talk non-Euclidean geometry to someone, but I also know that that's a niche thing, right? And then like if you're want to talk about like general themes, like just like the love song is like that's the gold standard of general themes, and it's also like people that are into that will almost get mad at you for just suggesting that you aren't. What do you mean? Do you hate love? Yes, I hate love, you idiot. Freaking kidding me?
Right. Okay.
Anyway, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. But anyway, I this is a clever way of doing it, right? Because it's sort of like,
yeah.
And also think about again at the time, you know, bands like The Clash were brand new. Like the Sex Pistols were still like hot off the presses. Like this is a crazy time to like the idea of doing a love song, just a song called Love Song
In the punk scene,
in the punk scene
in the UK.
In the UK in 1979. It's not where the zeitgeist of sensibilities for like the punk rock world was at the time.
Right. All right, look, let's keep on moving because
that's the first song. Yeah.
That's one song. There's a lot more songs, and I have questions for just about all of them. Let's move on to Machine Gun Etiquette.
Yes.
So title track features much harder and chaotic instrumentation akin to Lemmy Kilmister's Motorhead, as well as an apocalypse style riff, which falls in and out of the spotlight.
It's It's no other way to characterize it. Like it's that to me, that's them being like showing everybody what time it is.
Right. So oddly enough, this song actually features Joe Strummer and Paul Simonon on the clapping duties, due to the nature of both bands being recording their third albums at Wessex Sound Studios. So yeah, this album actually kind of features them and a couple other people, I guess, at different times. You're clearly no stranger to guests coming aboard. The credits to your catalog read like a who's who of the music scene. So can you tell me about any guests you have on your portion of the adult prom split?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the big one is that we did Kate from Lung and I did a duet on Phrygian, which was very exciting because we wrote that song together and we were both a little apprehensive. Like, oh, I don't know, writing someone else is kind of weird. It might be kind of awkward. And we knocked it out in like under 40 minutes, basically.
Wow.
But that was exciting to me because that song is about the concept of Phrygian, which is like originally from comic books. Everybody knows this concept though, which is that in the Green Lantern comic book, he comes back, he finds his girlfriend dead and stuffed in a fridge, and like he goes to get revenge. So it's
Mm-hmm.
basically the depowering, murder, rape, what have you, of a female character to exclusively to advance the plot and narrative function of the male character.
Hmm.
And we've seen it tons in movies and TV shows and other media over the years. And it's incredibly lazy storytelling. And of course, me and my twisted mind is like, oh, let's do a song about that and let's make it a duet. Because it's sort of like everybody knows this. We all know what this is. But the idea of like, well, if you're doing duet, then like what hasn't been done before? Well, that's no one's doing that. And that was super cool because Kate's obviously just a amazing vocalist. She's really, really great. And it was cool that that song came out the way that it did. Just because it's like, well, that's the subject matter. And then so Tony, Dale, and I are on one of their songs on the other side as well. So we cover a song by the other band. We cover a long song. They cover a Conan Neutron, the Secret Friend song. And
Yeah.
then we have like a guest appearance on either side. It has actually been very freeing in that way to, make songs that are like, this is a cool little song. We will probably never play it live. Or if we do, like, it will be significantly changed. And that definitely makes it stakes wise easier to bring in collaborators and just have them like, we want you to do the thing you do. We like the thing that you do, and we want you to do it.
Right.
And don't worry about if it fits or not. That's our problem. But like, you're already here, so we know it will fit in the way that we want it to. And it's always, I can't think of a situation where it hasn't worked out yet. It isn't to say that we exclusively rely on collaborations. Like, it's not like that kind of thing, but it's important. And I like having people involved in like weird ways. Buzz did backup vocals on Art of Murder on 2 songs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just cool. And if you know, and you're like, oh yeah, I guess that is him. Like if you listen, but if you don't know, you're just like, it's somebody doing, saying the word avid or chair or whatever. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's move on to the next song. I Just Can't Be Happy Today.
Yes.
All right. So
That's
just
a
can't be happy.
bold move in a freaking 79,
Yeah. Well, it's also kind of like the maybe starting to kind of like bring attention to the whole goth thing, right? Because I mean, not only is Dave Vanian like totally I wouldn't say he's ripping off, but I mean, he's kind of got this kind of Joy Division-esque kind of delivery,
Yes.
right? And then like the whole like sad boy idea of like this song, I Just Can't Be Happy Today. I mean, it's just like, it's totally goth. I mean, it's a very goth song.
Yeah, like it's like Cure before the Cure, right?
Yeah.
Before the Cure's doing it.
Yeah.
And but it's a great tune, and it builds, and it the way it resolves is sort of like maybe not the way that you would expect it to. Like it's like sad boy stuff, sure, but then it gets into that like the church is in ruins, the priests hang on hooks, and it's like, what's happening right now? Like what's
very dark. Yeah.
Where are we going? The army's in power, the devil commands.
Right,
but
and that part was cut for some radio releases of this song back then.
Which is crazy because it's like, no, that like makes the song, because it's a study in contrast, right? And it's sort of like, well, there's this, there's this personal sadness, but it's also
right.
Like here's all the stuff that we're like sad about. They're
Yeah. And it's so funny that they cut that because supposedly censors thought that it was like referencing to devil worship.
Right.
It's
Right,
fucking
exactly.
so stupid. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I hate to inform you about the Middle Ages, but
right, but it doesn't seem that far off. I mean, like the part that you're mentioning, that kind of like spokenish word part, it also seems like a post-apocalyptic vision of our not too distant future, actually, like our not too distant fascist future we're living in America today.
Yep.
Yeah, so a little scary.
Hard relatable, yeah. Well, and then there's that crazy, it builds and builds, and there's the organ, it does that,
right?
Like it's this big, like cinematic, like resolve to it that builds up, and then it goes back down into the legal to dance, forbidden to, it's sort of like, it's just Elvis enough. Like it works because of the bombast that comes before it, but the idea of like taking that part out, it's like, Why would you? Yeah, but again, different times. Those are different times, man.
Yeah, right. But seemingly, prophetic a little bit to a degree.
Oh, unfortunately, so yes. I mean, hard hard relatable in a way. It's like, right. This was just an abstract concept you were worried about then. All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, I don't really have something for you for
Ew.
that. So let's move on to Melody Lee.
Sure.
So this one's a hard one. I have a kind of a longer thing here about this because I think that this song was kind of in question as far as like, what does this mean exactly? So
Yeah.
from Bunting number 1030, October 1977, there was a featured called Melody Lee, A Dancer She'll Be, about an orphan girl who tries to make it as a dancer. And this is a comic strip, like a Bunty comic back in the 70s.
Oh, okay.
So the lead guitarist on the song, Captain Sensible, claimed in the 25th anniversary of this album that, quote, "I'm surprised they got away with that one. I took the lyrics straight from Bunty comic. Melody Lee was a Melody
Really?
Lee was
Okay.
Melody Lee was a character. It was Melody Lee, a dancer she shall be. She's being trained by a failed ballerina who is scarred in an accident. All the lyrics came straight from the speech bubble in the cartoon strip, quote unquote."
That rocks. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Though. This one has always seemed very mysterious to me.
Yeah, and it's a great song. I fucking really love this one actually.
Oh yeah, it's a ripper. Yeah.
But there's a lyric in the song that goes, "Melody Lee, you got to find your secret enemy."
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
where does the concept of secret friends come from?
Secret friends versus secret enemies. Well, I'm glad you asked because I mean there is more to it than the fact that I have a tendency to move in secret with our operations, which is the fact that a secret friend is actually a concept from a comic book, which is the Max, if I remember correctly, and it was the idea. The idea is that in high school, especially, the popular kids, that they won't associate with like the artsy, freaky kids publicly because it would lower their social capital. But they know that there's something special with those kids, and so they will be friends with them, but only in secret, only when it's not on main with everyone like watching. And that's just such a harrowing but very real concept, because especially because the popular kids usually will not end up doing anything of note, like maybe they work at their dad's car dealership or something, right? Like they're
Right.
like they're I mean, well, it's all in perspective, right? Okay, what does success mean? Maybe for them they like it, so I'm not gonna like try to like cast shade or anything.
Right.
But then like the artsy kid goes on to, like whatever, like be like a famous director or artist or musician, and it's just such a heavy concept. It's just packed into, oh no, we can be friends, we have to be secret friends. And was like, oh. Because it's like, it's like you almost like wince hearing that, and I love that idea because the idea of perceived or actual social capital has become even more apparent in modern society, and it's so, because it's like the concept of money or something. What does that mean?
Well, it's a currency, like a legitimate like social currency, right? It's so crazy.
They're ready to be on your side when you're winning and when you're famous, but until then they're like wishing you the best from afar,
right?
And it's like, okay, well, thanks. It'd be a whole lot better if you actually helped out now, but
yeah, well, that shows the true nature of people, I mean, because like if some shallow person is just like, you're really like in high school of all times the most,
which is the worst, that's like the ground zero of this, right? But it obviously holds true in all life.
Yeah, it's just so it's like if you at that time in your life, this kind of like formative period of your adolescence where you're like, really discovering yourself, and you're like, as adults, it's just like you go on to have this like great career or whatever, like, let's just call you famous. And now this person's coming out of the woodworks being like, remember when we were friends? We were friends, buddy. Remember?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's, it's what we've chosen to elevate, and how we've chosen to elevate it has made everybody fame obsessed. I mean, kids want to be influencers now.
Right.
It's like, oh, that's so
good luck, kids.
That's such a drag to me. I'm like, oh, that sounds horrible. And every band has to be an influencer now to a certain degree. And like, I've had a hard time navigating that myself where I'm like, I don't like showing that part of the process. I'm not interested in showing that part. Screw that. I make these records, we make these records so like they can be listened to. I don't mind like taking a picture in the studio or whatever, but I don't want to show every part of the process. No, like that's like that would have to be like baked into the conceit of a thing. Like that's like the conceit of the record or whatever. And I realize that I'm, as in many ways, out of touch with the zeitgeist that way, that I'm just not interested in that. But it's also like I've softened up a little bit. Like, oh yeah, cool. Here's some, stuff that's the venue that we're playing. And here's like, like a little snippet of video, which everybody expects video now. They're like, oh, I'm not there. I hope someone's taking video. I mean, that irritates me so much because it's like, I get it. And I get I can't be there and I would like to see it. But why is there an expectation that somebody has to do that work for you? And why is there an expectation that literally any show a band plays has to be meticulously documented by people's cell phones? I don't like that personally.
Yeah.
And
no, I don't either.
And I try not to opine about it too much because it sounds like a crankcase about it. But, it's just, and people will take that to the extreme of meaning like never take video at one of our shows or something. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like the phone up the entire set, live streaming it, and the audio sounds like it's from the center of Satan's butthole. Like, it's not how I want to be represented. And
no, I don't think it's a fair representation to anybody. And if anyone is, I don't know how people think about that, but I mean, if that's like your idea of like getting entertainment, then you guys are fucking miserable.
We're doomed.
Like, you need to get out there and go see it yourself. I mean,
see a show. Jesus. Yeah.
I mean, it's just because there's nothing like it. I mean, you don't feel it. I mean, the cell phone video fucking of a concert is the worst. I hate them.
I'm glad I'm talking to a kindred spirit. Secret Enemies would be a great EP for Conan Neutron and Secret Friends, by the way.
There you go.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about that lyric. Yeah, Secret Enemies EP. That's great. I can write an EP about that. Hell yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. I expect to see it soon.
I'll expect on my desk on Monday morning.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, I'm glad
Melanie Lee's a ripper. Melanie Lee is a great song.
Oh, it's so getting stuck in my mind, that song, really.
Yeah. It's an earworm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but the next song is Anti-Pope.
Yes. Yes.
The Damned were never a particularly political band compared to other punk bands. However, you could definitely make a claim that Anti-Pope is a great analysis of religion and those sucked in by it.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, and this is right down the Secret Friends model of writing. An Anti-Pope is actually a real thing. So it's basically someone that it claims to be the Pope that's in opposition to like the legitimately elected Pope, which I think
really?
kind of rules. Yeah, like I could declare myself anti-Pope.
Yeah, sure.
and like, probably wouldn't go over that well, especially based on the fact that I am, not Catholic or religious in any way. But like, there's a big history with that. Like there's a whole long history of people that basically didn't like what the current Pope was doing and decided that they were going to be the Pope instead. And so like, I'm not like a scholar on these things kind of things. If anything, I'm a historical dilettante of just like, I enjoy like kind of weird back alley historical aspects of things like that. But I love the line that I've got nothing against church, but only people who go there and show they're plain ignorant and don't understand. Like, that's like a summation for me of religion.
Yeah.
Like I'm not against it. I just don't like being the oppression that that comes from it,
And it's just like so courteous too. It's just like nothing against you, man.
Nothing against it.
Nothing against you, but it does show you're a little ignorant.
Yeah, it's just like it's just like Tool. Some of your followers are pretty much total jerks.
Right.
Nothing against Tool. Tool's fine. Nothing against you, but you got some pretty ignorant followers.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, hey, I think unfortunately everyone's got their batch. It's a sheer ratio of numbers. I mean, you can't help it. You know, you got
Yeah.
an audience that's like 100,000 people. I mean, there's bound to be a few assholes in there, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, and there's a lot of bratty transgressiveness that are in the lyrics of this song.
Hmm.
Uh Congregation at weekends won't change their behavior. Like, like it's like, oh, it's like that's really good. That's sort of like
Yeah.
it's understandable that Vanyan kind of was like, hey, let's slow it down and kind of maybe we can lean a little bit into this because they are really like there's a lot of bombast to it, but they're the lines carry over, man. Like
Right.
it's like there's if you're like, oh yeah,
Right. And it's just such a interesting and catchy and smart way to kind of like point out what the point they're trying to make, you know, like being kind of anti-church, anti-pope, being like against the Christian religion in general, or
yeah,
just structured religion in general, whichever one it is. Doesn't even have to be Catholic or Christianity or anything. Um,
and like that to seek answers from the peddlers of hope. It's like, oh man,
that's a good line.
that's
Yeah.
so good. And then there's that rejoinder like that we just and I should know. I had to go there myself, which was just sort of like I like the like Mountain Goats are so good at that. Just like there's like a sort of like a line of something like really mundane next to something like really like
Profound.
profound. Yeah, and the
Yeah.
contrast between those things is like that's one of my favorites. And so this is a great example. It's all over the place, right? I mean,
Hmm.
there's again, the fact that there is actually such a thing as an anti-pope is like blew my mind when I found that out. Because I was like, oh, I wonder if like where'd they get that from? And I was like, oh, it's a real thing. Like I thought they were just like, oh, we're anti the Pope, which is sort of like what you would expect from a punk rock band in like the late 70s. Yeah,
Yeah. No, of course. Yeah. That's weird too. I didn't know that either.
yeah.
Um, let's move on. There's a couple of songs that I'm going to skip over
Okay,
this next half, but there's some that I really want to touch on.
sure.
So These Hands is the next song.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
These Hands, a relentless tale based around a clown with killer tendencies who's sick of having to act happy despite suffering on the inside.
yeah.
Um,
It's kind of a little like radio play almost, right? I mean, like it's stop laughing.
yeah, no, I love how it ends like that. It's so abrupt and shocking, and it's just like. But then when you think about the context of the song being like this song literally is written as like from the perspective of a clown who's angry that people are laughing at him,
Yeah,
and he
exactly.
wants to seek revenge on them, and he wants to fucking kill them.
Years before Joe Pesci was pissed off about it. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like, what is there to say? Like when you first hear this, you're like, is this circus music? What's happening right now? Like, but then
Yeah,
like,
it's
oh no, it's
demented.
and then you're like, it's about a demented clown. Okay,
Right, but it
sure.
sounds demented. I mean, like just
Yeah,
like that whole circus wheel type thing going around. You know, it has that vibe to it, and then clowns are fucking creepy as fuck, no matter who you are. I mean, I don't care if
yeah.
you're got a phobia or not. Clowns are creepy.
Yes, agreed.
All right, well, let me see. Now, tell me if I'm wrong here, okay? But
Okay.
based on what I know, seen, and heard from you,
Mhm.
you seem like a fairly happy guy.
Ah,
And
okay.
I think we all have a tendency to get depressed or even mad or you're even angry at things, maybe homicidal at times, maybe.
Sure.
Um, can you tell me about what is something that really bothers you?
Oh boy. All right. That's a different therapy session. No, a lot. Uh, to be to be frank, I think we are locked into this weird kind of death loop in a society where we're all being every voice is at the same level, and so and we're connected with everyone all the time, always. And I don't think the human mind is designed for that. In fact, I know it's not. And I think we're celebrating the individual without supporting the needs of the individual in every aspect.
Hmm.
And again, I come off as hopefully rather jovial and agreeable.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I certainly do my best to be entertaining and to be engaging and whatnot. But I mean, I wrote a whole record about depression and mental health and like imposter complex and all of that. And it was surprisingly hard and surprisingly easy in that same way. And that was, we did that record in 2019, and it's only gotten worse. And I think that that's something now that's part of everyday life. So that's an entire society internalizing that, and internalizing like all these thoughts and feelings that have no recourse and no curative action other than shopping or some product that someone's attempting to show you. That's Philip K. Dick would have had a hard time with that one. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, that's our reality here. That's harsh, man. Like we must like it because we keep doing it. I have a lot of personal animosity and grievances towards a lot of different things. There's plenty of songs that we've written that feature that. It usually has to do with people generally being selfish and thoughtless and causing harm to others with those actions. That's it's serious business. I mean, they're the crybabies on this last one, right? And that's sort of like the nadir of this modern culture we have, of that, like someone that are themselves causing harm through rhetoric or using their platform or whatnot, making themselves out to be the victim, right? They're being a crybaby about it, and that is somehow a thing. That's like somehow a thing that we're like okay with, and it's like, are we not going to mention the fact that like you're outraged at the outrage? I don't care. You're using this platform to like actively like hurt people. Like what's wrong with you? And
It
people like
it
pisses off the right people.
Right. And I guess maybe that's what it is. People like to be outraged, right? Because just mentioning that this cry bullies thing, this phenomenon, if you want to call it, maybe that that people are even like have the time to be incensed about something, and that they need to like spout off about it to other people to get their reactions from it, and to get this outrage reaction at that. It seems
to get that dopamine hit, right? To get that kind of like, so there's something to be said for a certain type of person that they've actually lost all hope or the idea that anything could get any better. So all they have left is agitating their enemies, or their perceived enemies, I should say.
Right.
Which is this is like, you know, the class example is like triggering the libs, right? But like there's plenty of people on the left that do it as well. But and it comes from a place of just hollowness and emptiness and like empty rage at their inability to have any curative action. I mean, the absence of justice, people will settle for catharsis every time. And that's all this is. That's all we offer. That's all we
get now. Yeah.
The catharsis of like, you know, the daily enemy, the daily target, the daily
sure.
You know, whatever 2 minutes hate, like whatever what allegory you want to use for it. And it's horrific and it's horrible. And again, we must like it. We don't do anything about it culturally. And I'm not talking about you or me or anyone listening to this show, but like it's going to take some kind of collective action to stop doing that. And ideally, these social media sites should stop rewarding it as well.
Well, I mean, if they, I mean, they kind of monetize it in a sense, right? I mean, like that's the thing, is like if you have a platform and it has a number of followers in there, and you know, bunch of views and attention that it gathers, whichever way it comes. I mean, there's value behind that in a kind of corporate sense. So that's why actually the best reaction to that, I feel like I tell this to my wife all the time, because I know that she watches like YouTube shorts and shit like that. I'm just like, why do you fucking watch that stuff? It's such garbage. Like, just don't pay attention. Like, don't give any like the views and the likes on stuff like that is exactly what they want. So if you just don't pay attention to it, then it kind of has to die where it stands.
Yeah, and it sucks that like we're in this situation where everyone is the product at all times, and everything you do is bought and sold and aggregated as data. But like, just don't engage with it, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm for cancel culture, and I'm not. And in fact, even the term itself is fraught, because it should be consequence culture is what it should be. And
no, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a really great kind of topic of conversation. I just don't think we can designate another hour to it.
It's a different show, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does. I mean, it's hard for people that the reason why we've made no cultural movement forward on this is because people don't talk about it. And they don't
Sure.
talk about it in the ways of like, okay, so
Well,
shame.
you know they're just going to argue with us.
Exactly. Exactly.
Just be like, these guys don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
There needs to be another tool in the toolbox beyond shame. Is probably the most reductive way that I can put it. And right now we don't have that. It's just like public shaming, you know,
Right.
and that's it. And question mark, and move on to the next target. Okay, well that clearly doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like there's a few cases where it did, and for the most part it doesn't. And that has turned into that person is saying something I don't like and I don't want to see anymore. And that's where these idiots that constantly cancel culture's out of control. Cancel culture's out of control. It's like, oh my god, shut up. Shut up. Just be like, for comedians, it's like, maybe you're just not funny. Because most people aren't. Maybe people are trying to be funny, but and like maybe your art just isn't that good. Most isn't. Like I it's not for me to say, and it's not for me to like dish that out, although I'll gladly take that job if it's offered. But I think that we need culturally to find new ways as curative measures deal with this. And maybe, just maybe, wild idea here, something that could be actual justice instead of catharsis.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the big one right there. But well, let's see how that happens. Let's see how that plays out.
Like, yeah, if you want to take any bets on that, yeah, let's.
Well, I mean, next song is Noise, Noise, Noise. That's kind of what this sounds like. Noise, noise, noise.
It's for heroes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, so I have this long thing about describing the song. We know the song, and it's very much a very punk song. But one thing I just want to bring out to you is that the song starts with the lyrics, "At 7 a.m. on a brand new day, I'm going to start it in the perfect way. Put the greatest record on."
Yeah.
Is this how you start your days?
Oh man, I should. That sounds like a great way to start the day. It's like,
yeah,
start the day with crippling anxiety about what I have to do. No, put the greatest record on. That sounds awesome. That's be great the change you want to see, right?
Kickstart your day, I mean, just fucking like really put something on that. Well, okay, let me ask it this way. So if you could, or if you would, what would be the first thing you put on in the morning?
Ooh. Yeah, because you're kind of like defining.
You're setting the mood for the day.
Yeah, the mood for the day, huh? Man, so
it's sunny out. It's nice out, like nice weather. Like it's nice, good fall day.
Yeah.
You got some shit to do. You got some errands to run.
Right. You want to get kind of pumped up a little bit, maybe. Yeah. I don't know, like Stooges, maybe. That's do some down on the street. That's a good starting it up. Like, I feel like it'd be a different answer every day, but it's sort of like, well, you're kind of defining how it'd be an interesting social experiment, right? To like, okay, you're starting off with Brainiac today, or you're starting off with like Aphex Twin or Wire, or, and then like how does that color your day? Yeah.
How does that day transpire with that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. Cause like I absolutely hate waking up to alarms.
And
I say that knowing full well that like show me the person that likes it. Right. Like, I love waking up to alarms, but I totally hate it. But for a time period, I had a thing where you could like set a song.
Oh,
to wake up to. What did I set to? I can't remember what I set it to. But I did wake up to a song, but then I got resentful at that song. Like I would hear that song and it would associate it with having to get up and like,
because it was the same song for the alarm.
Yeah, right.
So it wouldn't change like every day.
Right. That would be the move, is like you have it so it's like a different, like you said, like a playlist of like, get up and get it done playlist. And I haven't tried doing that. I don't even remember what it was, but I was like, I have to change this because I'm getting deeply resentful of this song I love because it's associated with getting up in the morning, which I despise. Like I'm never. Even
was
when
it Harry
sleep...
Nelson? Was it Harry Nelson?
No, that's a good one though. Well, I'm trying to remember what it was. It was too long ago. It's like 10 years ago that I did that. I'm sure the technology is there to do as a playlist, but
all right. Well, I'm glad I put that
I like that idea
in your ear. Yeah. Do it.
And I like the idea of like, seeing what works best and like how it sort of like shapes. Because the first thing what I do usually after I like am actually up, I'll usually throw on a podcast
In the morning, like when
in
you
the
wake
morning.
up.
Yeah,
Oh, you're insane.
That's, I mean, because it's just like for whatever reason, that's like what I got into. But I like the idea of like putting on like a favorite record or something, and then having it be like almost like you can sort of determine what they are ahead of time and cycle them in and out. I don't know. Maybe it's a good experiment. Maybe I should do it.
And maybe you should. Let's try it. Do it.
I'll report back.
Okay. Let me know, man. All right. So next song is Looking at You, but it's a cover of an MC5 song. So
Last thing I forgot to mention, I love the noises for heroes. Heroes, leave the music for zeros. I love that call and response.
Oh, that's the Clash too.
Yeah,
that's Topper Heathen and Joe Strummer.
Oh, is it really? Okay. Oh, I love it. Like, and it's I think about that song a lot, if nothing else, because of the refrain on that chorus, and I think that's a ripper, and that's great guitar work in there too. By
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
great song. So the next one I said is a cover, MC5, Looking at You. So we're gonna skip that one because I don't do covers.
Right, and it's fine. You know, it's a revved up version of MC5 song, and MC5 like all their records sound like garbage.
Yeah, right. That's so unfortunate with that band. I mean, like
so
great songs, but fuck, man, like they never captured it well. I don't think, except for obviously the live one.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
All right. Well, so the song after that is Liar.
Not the Henry Rollins band song.
But... No, but it's close. It's pretty close. So I have to ask, are you a liar?
I'm not.
That's a fake. That's a kidding. Yeah. Kidding aside.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, if I said no, would you believe me?
No, I wouldn't believe you. You are a public figure, so it's hard. It's hard to tell. But no, kidding aside, I mean, because you are also the host and the voice of a podcast. I mean, do you put weight on your recorded word and how that might land with your audience?
Yes, and I'm not sure if I did that as much when it first started.
Didn't you not know what you were doing? You didn't know what you were doing. I mean, nobody started, right?
Who knows what they were doing? I mean, I had a show with my bandmates before Controversial that ran like 25 episodes or something. So I knew how to podcast, but it's also the idea of like, I didn't have the format even figured out necessarily until like about like 20 episodes in. And then I was like, oh, it appears to be that is what this is. And
right.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. I can do that. But like, it's what I've learned too is that like joking around is hard in the fact that it's not hard at all, but what's very funny in the moment or extemporaneously can come off as like mean or cruel or wrongheaded or just be not age well too. And like,
right.
But then also like, I find the NPR style of interviewing just deadly boring too, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Or I should say not to my personal sensibility. See, this is a perfect example, right? I'm editing myself in real time. And some people only like that model, or they think they only like that model because that's all they know.
Because it's informative. It's just kind of like, information kind of like one after the other, like just kind of keep it coming, not like what we do and just kind of go off on a subject and just, and it just kind of steamrolls into whatever it becomes. I mean,
some wild left turns. And for me, the wild left turns are like one of the best parts and where you get the real gold.
Natural conversations, like what people used to do, remember?
Exactly. And some people like they only like the this is my strict question answer format, and it's like, okay, so like I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying it's a different thing. So the idea of it being more freewheeling, not everyone can do it. Like, or everyone thinks they can do it, and some people just don't even think about it at all, right? Yeah, and there's value to like the destination not being what you thought it was too, like it being what it is. Like, okay, I had Mario Rubalcaba on, right? Who's like an amazing drummer, has been like a million bands. Started that episode, I was like, I'm gonna be the guy that we talk at least a little bit about every band this dude's been in, which is like 40 of them.
Oh wow!
And I did it.
Yeah.
And it was exhausting, and hopefully people enjoyed it. And then we spent the last hours BSing about records, and that was way more enjoyable.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you put a pressure on yourself, right? So I mean, to kind of like you must set a guideline for yourself. I mean, because your conversations are not about a specific topic, but you're speaking to somebody who is, influential in some way or another to you specifically. I mean, you know the person, you know what they do or what they have done, but there is, but like you're like where I have a record to talk about, you don't have something specific aside from maybe what they're promoting. They have a new record out, they have a new whatever out.
And that does happen, and sometimes that doesn't happen, and it's and can I tell you that, I mean, you got a great hook to this show, but I think if you start a show now and you're interested in doing it beyond just doing it for yourself and your friends, you have to have some kind of hook now. I didn't even know what the hell the show was when it started. I was like, I thought it was going to be more like a, play music, have interviews, like do some bits, do some variety. And then I was like, I despise doing it in the morning. Like I was like, I'm not a morning person at all.
Yeah.
And it turns out I was like, oh no. And like, I realized, I was like, oh, this is the best part of it is this. So I'm just going to do this and like this. And then I continued to do it for years and years. Not really to that much success, frankly. And then out of nowhere, like whatever, 6-7 years in, like it just exploded, mostly due to the fact that like there's this deep catalog of episodes that I just continued doing.
Right.
And if you time that with the fact that tour got canceled, I got laid off from my job, couldn't do anything. I was like, well, stare at the wall and wait to die, or I can just put it all into the show. And I put it all into the show and to great success. But and ultimately probably I got a little bit better just out of that was the only thing that I could focus on. It was like, that was my life raft in the middle of the ocean, right? It was Protonic. And like, it took me 4 or 5 months before I was able to even write a song. I was so angry and anxious and depressed and what have you that like, I was like, oh, I might just not be able to write music anymore. Wow. Well, I guess it was a good run. Like, and that was horrifying, but what could I do about it? And then it turns out I was like, no, when I was able to sort of calm down and kind of work through a bunch of stuff and things got a little bit better, then it was like, oh, I had like busted loose like the Commuter on my lunch break. I like wrote the entire thing like in the space of like 45 minutes. And I was like, okay, cool. All right. That's back. Good. Right on. I can recognize now that was like just me in my head about all this other stuff and just not able to concentrate because of it. But when I don't want to say there was a good thing about COVID, but like a nice thing about the show being there and really ramping it up during peak COVID is that it kind of provided solace for people that were in a similar situation where they felt lost and angry and worried and
right.
And then is able to take their mind off it for hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is, and to which my answer is great. Me too.
Yeah. I mean, there had to be something there. I mean, and some people luckily found something. Some people did actually have it work to their advantage. I mean, for me, like I ended up figuring out the Zoom thing. I was just like, oh, I can speak to people all over the world now. I don't have to just rely on my inner circle here in Rhode Island of all places.
People just coming in the door. Yeah. And that's the technology that exists now to do shows. It's so much like when I started this dumb show, like it was all hardware solutions. I was like figuring it was like not even, there was no one to turn to for it, like and it's now it's easy. All these tools are out and I think that's great. I'm like, great. More shows, the better. Like I've heard shows have come in the past 2 years. I'm like, this is my new favorite show. I've heard ones I'm like, I never want to hear this again. But that said, same thing with bands, man.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I'm always like, some people get real like, well, I don't want the competition. Man, there ain't no one in competition with me. Like I'm the only one that can do me.
Right.
You could try to do my show. You could try, and it still wouldn't be the same because it's me. And that's what I don't understand when people try to rip off Mark Maron. Mark Maron is the Mark Maron of Mark Maron. Right. Don't try to do him. Do your version of that. Like do like whatever it is that makes you do that. Like with me, you're gonna get a lot of like weird, harsh invective. You're gonna get like like a joking asides, things like that, and then like some weird, like nebulous, deep magic knowledge about stuff, and it's all wrapped up in a bow. And that's what it's like to hang out with me too, I'm told.
Okay.
And I'm sure for some people that sounds exhausting, but also, again, coming back to like the way the show works is like this sounds obvious. I never have anyone I'm not interested in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it seems you figured that out. It seems like from what you've told me from like your young adolescence to now is that like you've definitely figured out your comfort area. Like this is what works for me, and I'm sticking to this, and that's that. Like,
absolutely.
Whereas, so for some people, I know for me, a lot of my trial and error is I'm still working through my trial and error,
which is okay. I mean,
yeah.
So from a musical perspective, I started Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends almost 10 years ago. It's 37. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess this is what I should have been doing the entire time. Like, I realized I was overthinking so much stuff that didn't matter. And that, my friend, that's a harsh toke. It's like, okay, so what do I do with this knowledge? Well, I could be prideful about it and like pretend that it didn't happen, or it can be like, cool, well, I guess I'm just like one of those people that, like Bukowski or something that like really kind of figured it out late in life. Okay.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't invalidate what I did before. Like everything, I mean, like Replicator certainly still has its audience, and I stand by everything I did with those guys. But like, I kind of became the best version of myself at 37.
Okay.
which is, hey, at least I figured out before I croaked,
Right. No, that's the thing. Is this like who can everyone say that? Can everyone say that they've discovered their comfort level in whatever it is that they want to do?
And how I figure that out is just being like open and receptive and curious about things. There's still the ability for people to find their own path with it. And I think that I wish that there was more avenues for discovery that involve that and challenge people to think, be reflective in a way that's you can build upon, rather than just be reflective of like, oh, I don't have what that person has, that means I'm bad.
Yeah.
that mindset, which is usually followed up by, but here's this product that will solve that problem, and it never does.
No, of course not.
So I wish that there was the avenue for people to be more reflective that way and be inwardly focusing without being cripplingly inwardly focused, to be the whatever of the whatever that they need to be.
Yeah, man. Well, I can agree with that for sure. We're all on our paths. We're all on our journeys, and some people will find it earlier than others, and I don't know who hope luckily everyone will find their path.
We were talking about Liar, weren't we?
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot.
No, that's okay. Don't worry about it, man. I mean,
so what I would say to bring it all back around, like we do in this podcast game, right?
Yeah.
Is the little lies that we tell ourselves are just as important as the more explicit line that are mentioned. This excellent song. This is a great tune. And sometimes you have to make the choice to not lie to yourself about what is happening. But that doesn't mean be harsh with yourself either.
No.
Except for when it does.
No, I mean, I think that there should be a simple way to reach a, not to lie to yourself, not to, like a simple way to kind of like, level with yourself and what you want or what you need, or come to that realization of what brings you happiness and joy.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's all about, I guess, right?
Word. No, absolutely. I mean, I legitimately love writing music, recording music, releasing music, playing that music live. I enjoy the process. I know people that they like one or two of those things, and maybe, and okay, that's fine. But like, there's not a popular form of media to describe what I do. Like I'm a story that doesn't make sense, in the fact that it's not like there's if you talk to someone like me who has literally never stopped and like continued to grow and basically through your force of will kind of carved like a weird little niche. I mean, there just aren't those stories. Like, it's always, again, it goes back to the temporarily embarrassed superstars thing, right? Everyone's a temporarily oh, well, we get discovered, and then we, like, people are so like hanging on to these ideas from like other generations. That's like a boomer idea of creativity. And it's I hate to be like the needle for people's balloons, but it's pretty much isn't going to happen. And even if you did, everything is so ensconced in these little like subsections of culture. You're never going to have like the cultural, like there's never will be another Nirvana.
Right.
It's just that isn't how culture works anymore. And that's fine. But you have to understand that, and you have to stop holding on to ideas that are not sustainable in that way. And you have to define what success means to you. Like, for me, I am absolutely successful because I'm doing the things I want to do.
Yeah, it's great.
And it's for the people that want to engage with it, people that want to listen, people that want to watch, whatever. And if you define your success as an achievable metric while still allowing room for you to grow and attempt to be better, for me, that's a avenue for sustainability. Like, if I ever got to the point where I'm like, I thought what I was writing was like not good, I'd stop.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd be, I'd like a serial killer. I would just stop. I'd like the Jack the Ripper or something. But it has never happened. Like, I've been at the point where I'm like, oh, there's nothing in the tank right now. Interesting. And then like something comes up and I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's do that. And I get thrilled about it. Like how I did at 15. When like Clay shows up at my door with like the bass guitar and says, I need to buy a guitar so we can be a band. And I need to be clear. We were terrible. Like, not good. Like, not good. Because nobody was good when they start.
No.
You have all these ambitions and ideas and you have great taste, but you're bad. And you have to be bad. And you have to continue to be bad until it becomes okay. And then only be okay until it gets good. And then if you're lucky enough and hardworking enough, then you eventually you become great. And what that means to you and what those goalposts are don't matter so much as the process. I'm into the process. And that was another thing that I didn't really think about until, again, the advanced age of 37, which I think, like, like 1700s, that'd be someone's great grandpa or something. But
like, you said that like it was a terminal. Like, I had late stage 37 going
right,
on.
Exactly. Well, it's gonna be 46 in December, and it's like, like whatever. I own it. It's what I am, and I put us on same stage as band full of 20-year-olds, and whatever. You're not going to see that much difference. Until I'm huffing and puffing after the show. But anyway, but it's like, I only keep bringing it up because it's okay to find things out later in life. And that's something that like, there's just not a pass for that culturally.
Right.
Like, I know people that are, very advanced in their field, and doing their best work. And it happened like later in life, but they're almost like ashamed of it. I'm like, no, that's awesome. Cause there's all these people that are like, culturally we're told to like, well, if you haven't achieved this dream by X time, then it's over.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it becomes harder because you got responsibilities, right? You got a household you have to take care of. Maybe you're not going on tour 9 months out of the year. You're not spending all your money on your startup. Yeah. Like, whatever. But it's not true. I mean, or it doesn't have to be if you don't want to be, but you have to commit to it. Because if you don't commit to it, then you're not doing the world a favor, and you're definitely not doing yourself a favor, and you're definitely not doing the people around you a favor. That's why
I think I like that. That's a point well made, man.
Too bad it took me like 25 minutes to make it. Sorry.
That's okay. I know how to edit. It's cool.
Like, that was a weird episode. Like, one minute talking about Melody Lee, and one minute still pining about
right. Well, hey, that's kind of what I do over here, man.
Yeah, I know. I've heard the show. It's good.
Thanks, man. So last song in closing is "Smash It Up," parts 1 and 2. Correct.
Yes.
So let's see. This maybe we'll play into where we were with the last song, or what we were kind of talking about. But so I've come across many sources that say Captain began writing this song in response to Mark Bolan's death, and and as somber as the first part is, I feel like the second part is equally a tribute to the late singer in a very damned way.
Yeah.
Like they sing in the second part of the song, "We've been crying now for much too long, and now we're gonna dance to a different song. I'm gonna scream and shout till my dying breath. I'm gonna smash it up till there's nothing left." And it devolves from there into more of a smashing up of the system and societal norms than just literal destruction.
Just yeah, like exactly. They give you more figurative destruction rather than literal destruction. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But in closing, like I don't mean to end it on this note. It seems a little somber, but I mean I know you've experienced some loss about the time you started up the band, and you've already mentioned your friend Clay. What was his connection to the beginning of your band?
Well, yeah, he started me on the path to music, and he didn't stick with it. I did, right? And then he was a big fan of the Jesus Lizard. So the idea of like, okay, well, David Yao's interpretation of our band photo from high school is like the cover of the first record of this band. I thought that was kind of a neat way to honor him. And then lyrically, that first record is heavily informed. It's called The Enemy of Everyone. And it's the one I'm most likely to forget about. But like, it's at this point, but it's still very important to me because it's all very informed by him because he set me on my path. I definitely have, I think everyone has a lot of heavy loss, but Chris Bolick from the band Replicator, which is the band I basically spent my 20s doing. He passed away 2 years ago, and just like a year older than me. And you know, that's heavy. He played drums in Secret Friends for a few tours too. And you know, we just did a tour of the West Coast, and like there was a lot of memories I had of previous tours with Chris. And you know, like we stopped by Ocean Beach, which was by where Replicator started up, where I brought my little practice amp across BART and bus for a 45-minute one-way ride to go play in his bedroom, which he assured me everyone would be okay with. And they weren't. So he's like playing drums in his bedroom, and like it's just like silly, like young person stuff, right? But that led to this band that, you know, touched a lot of people, and we played a lot of places and did a lot of things. And yeah, he's a big part of my life, and he's gone now too. Vern from Unwound, friend of mine, collaborator in Household Gods. 3 years ago in August, LKN, also from Household Gods, he passed away. The record before the record actually came out, and that ended up kind of being about her in some ways. So it's just Dave Pajo and I that are still alive from that outfit. But it's also like, that's what happens. People leave. So it's how you, my mom died too, a year and a half ago. Forgot about that also.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, it seemed like for a while, there was like, it wasn't like a 3-month period without someone close to me passing away. But I mean, that doesn't make me special or anything. It's just, that's, you know, it's always heavy. And so it's a question of how you remember them, how you honor them, and you try your best to remember the best of what they are, you know, not remember the arguments or
right
harsh invective, unless it's funny, in which case, you know, we played Phoenix on this tour, and one of the guys that was at the shows was at a show that Replicator played at Modified Arts. It's very funny. Chris Bullock and I were, I don't remember, we were so agitated at each other for some reason, and like got right after the show, like he got in my face, I got in his face, you know, like just like just going at it. Like Ben was like, yeah, I thought you guys were gonna start punching each other, like just really just going at it, and then there's just like lull in the conversation, and then kind of look to the left, and there's like these two guys like, can we buy a CD? And then you're like, Yeah, yeah, man, let's go do that. And you realize how ridiculous it is, like this how far down this insane rabbit hole that you get of being in a band, and how everything just seemed like magnified, that you get reminded there's a world outside that. And I mean, it's a lot, and some days are better than others.
Hmm.
And I don't let it define me, but I never forget any of them. And I'd like to think that all of them would be stoked that I'm still Conaning, as some of them might characterize it, and it's at a higher and better level than it ever was before. I have my own specific ways that I to remember each of those people, and sometimes it's harder than others. I mean, it's I love seeing Unwound play with
Hmm.
Jared, who's like the only person that could do this. By the way, it was amazing. It was beautiful. It was life affirming, but also my friend isn't there. He's gone,
Right.
and that's heavy. And it was a heavy experience because of that. But I'm glad they're doing it. I'm glad they're making those songs live again. An entire new generation of kids gets to see Unwound play. That rocks. That's awesome. That's how you're gonna be mad at that? No, of course. I mean, and they're Smash It Up
Um,
rules. By the way, this is a freaking. This is such a great tune. Like, what a great way to end a record. Especially a record that has so many crazy moments and like deceptively deep. But the Damned are kind of different level for taking these elements that like would be considered like prog elements,
oh yeah, yeah.
but doing them ferociously, like just real, like wow, you never heard it played like that. Okay, crazy, and using these big bombastic elements in the songwriting to elevate things to a different level. It's pretty impressive. Like, and I think that the Damned. It's interesting to me that like when the Damned are remembered, they're only remembered usually for Damn Damn Damned and like Neat 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 and like those first singles are. I mean, they're great, they're awesome, but like
Yeah.
it's all about this record for me, and that includes the goth period. Peace and Love, not really my deal. But this is absolutely like an essential record as far as I'm concerned, and I wish people. I wish more people would check it out that don't come from a punk background, because I think that
Hmm.
there's a lot here for people. They're just interested in kind of cool and weird records, frankly. I mean, like it's
Yeah.
kind of like this weird flashpoint of like when it happened, and it's like it's crazy that this record happened.
Right. Well, I mean, you got to think about who was influenced by this album. I mean,
Right.
like if you think from this point, 1979 on, all the bands that came after it that may have or seemingly have drawn something from it, you know. I mean,
Absolutely.
obviously influencing goth, the whole goth movement in general. I
I was
mean,
gonna say Robert Smith.
yeah, yeah, a lot of Cure stuff, Depeche Mode. Yeah, I don't know. And then like, moving forward with all hardcore punk and shit going forward from that point.
Sure.
Um, then
Replacements,
sure, yeah, so much stuff.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I guess I could just ask them. Bird Say Devils, like
Hmm.
there's a lot here, and I think if there's any sort of thing that sort of like has made it the legend not be as big as it could be, it's that it isn't just the one thing.
Right,
Like everyone lauded London Calling for good reason, great record,
right.
for kind of being like, oh, there's like a jazzy little number. There's like a big band kind of thing happening. Like there's like a pseudo ska song, and I like that record a lot. But it's like, okay, but like there was something about like it was okay when that came out and being the Clash, whereas like the were the Damn too bratty. I don't know, but
Well,
like
they weren't cool enough, right? That's
maybe
like a
that's it.
lot. That's a lot
Yeah,
of that talk is that they weren't this cool band. They weren't a uniformed kind of like punk band. They were too weird. They were too wacky. I mean, you got the
yeah,
fucking singer who looks like he's goddamn, Count Dracula.
Exactly, Dracula. You got a Vlad Tepes over here on vocals. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And Captain Sensible just doing whatever the hell it is he's doing, which is to me is great. Like he's one of
Yeah.
like like just original creature.
Absolutely. So it's actually that kind of leads to an interesting point. It's arguable, but I'd say that the Damned as individuals are best known for their onstage personas or style.
Yeah.
What do you attribute some of your style to?
Oh, interesting. So that is a very good question because it is something I thought about a lot when starting the band and basically deciding, okay, I guess there's going to be a live band. I was like, well, what does that look like? And so the idea is I wanted to change my image to match what I thought of as the music, which is to say, and I have nothing against people doing jeans and t-shirts on stage at all. Like I did it made for many years myself, but I wanted to have something that was more like a show and to use certain trappings of certain things that people thought of as like a big show, but recontextualized with this kind of music. So that's what led to like the big shiny glittery jackets, bolo ties because I hate regular ties, and James Brown shoes, and just having this, what some people would consider ridiculous, but for me is just very big presentation, and have this kind of music coming out, like and be like laying into a song like Chesapeake Ripper, which is just pure gritty riffs and heaviness, but looking like Glenn Campbell or something. You know what I mean? Or and there is an incongruity to it, and it's also to make it a welcoming atmosphere for people as well. And I think there's something for me at where I'm at that I'm being an entertainer in some aspect, whether it's for a dozen people or 1,000. Like it's putting on a show,
Right.
and the act of like that's like Mr. Rogers, right? he would go in, we'd like so we're doing the show, I'm putting the sweater on, we're doing the whole thing, and that's more or less what I'm doing in my own fashion and capacity. I decided somehow that I was going to play exactly like how I always played, which is a very physical and a lot of movement, and I would do that and add layers, which hot. It's very hot, as it turns out.
Oh, I bet.
So then it was a tour with service in the summer of the South that finally led me to get like a power blower fan that just focused on me and just blowing air at me constantly, which sometimes looks kind of cool, and that's fine, but that's literally to keep me from getting a heat stroke. That's not to look cool.
It's to keep cool, not look cool.
It's to keep cool, not look cool. Although it does look cool once in a while.
Yeah.
So the idea was like, okay, so if I am the titular Conan Neutron of Conan Neutron, the Secret Friends, and I'm this personality that people are investing their time and money into watching, that I'm going to give it a show, as I always would. But I decided the presentation should be my version of that, and that's kind of taking cues from like your David Bowie's, your Freddie Mercury's, sure, Prince, Glenn Campbell, absolutely. Liberace, whatever. And it's just I'm just doing my thing. I'm doing my thing with that I don't think anyone else does. If they do, I would love to trade notes.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like, especially when you say like all those kind of classic artists that you think about when you think about kind of like the perception of rock, this persona, these rock personas or whatever. Elton John is like a great example. He's just like, very, very showy. I mean, he wears fucking costumes, like
sunglasses, the freaking it's a whole
but I mean,
thing,
like,
yeah.
I think for like, I've definitely thought about this in the past, where it's just like, especially for a big show, like you're in a big venue, and like you got this one little person on a stage, and like you're in the way back,
right?
Like they need to wear that thing. They need to like wear something that's showy and flashy and whatever, and they need to make big movements. It's just like, it's not like as a performer, maybe it's best to just stand right there and focus on your instrument to play your best. But when you're on a stage and you have to perform in front of people, you have to make these big wild movements. It's like acting on stage, right? It's like
right,
like actual theater. It's just like you actually have to, and like enunciate and embellish your
Project.
movements.
Yes.
So
yes,
like
yes,
it's like
yes.
I'm right here, I'm here, I'm here. Like you're fucking like you got to make all this movement just so that people can see that you're there. They can kind of see what you're doing. So
Yes. Well, and that you hit the nail on the head. You have to expand the show to be the like the size of the stage, or even with the size of the stage you want it to feel like.
right.
And I've always moved around a lot. Like I certainly have, like I see video of it and it's like, oh yeah, I guess I'm doing a Chuck Berry thing there. Okay, fine. But like, I'm not like thinking like this is where I do the Chuck Berry thing. It's just like what's coming naturally. But there's like kicks and freaking flailing around. There's a part in one of the songs where I like lift the guitar up and like bang it on my head in rhythm. How does this stuff develop? I don't know. I'm not sitting here like writing down, I'm going to do this at this part of the song.
This is my choreography.
Yeah. Exactly. There's no choreographer at all. But by the same token, I've been told that, it's a great rock show. Okay, good. Well, I want it to be a great rock show because this to me, this is like a big, weird rock band. So if you're going to be a big, weird rock band, lean into it.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's not for everyone. And like, again, those people are very happy to tell me about it. And I'm like, okay, well, fine. Thanks for coming.
So weird.
like I don't know what it is about certain dudes that they just have are disenchanted by Spangles, but everyone else likes it, so I like it. So that's all that matters.
That's all that matters right there. And so now, to the people that are interested in seeing the spectacle that is Conan, Neutron, and the Secret Friends. I mean, I know you just came off tour, but so what do people have to do?
Because we just got off tour. No, there's going to be I don't think there's going to be much for the rest of the year, but we have
the rest of the year is very short now anyway.
There's not that much. I mean, like sometimes we would normally do like a bunch of stuff in the fall too, but not there's reasons why we're not this year, but there's going to be a bunch of stuff in the spring for next year. Lung, who we have the split LP Adult Prom with, they did the whole tour, West Coast tour with us, and we're going to do some more stuff with them next year. Neutronfriends.com is the website, and all the tour dates are put up there. There's going to be a makeup show for Oakland with McCluskey in the second attempt at the makeup show for that.
Oh yeah.
Which we did some shows with them last year. Nice. And it was great. But the Oakland show, where I'm from, got postponed the first time, and then it got postponed for the rescheduled show as well. And nothing that was like anything about it, but we're gonna do that. I think maybe whatever. I shouldn't say anything on air. I don't. There's other things as well. If you go to neutronfriends.com, we're on there. I Songkick, bands in town. Those are things that are not social media explicitly, where you can just follow the band on there. You'll get
notifications
which I think is great, and I wish more bands used. There is another new record that is completely recorded and more or less mixed. That's another full-length record that is going to be out sometime next year.
Oh wow, cool.
So there's going to be a bunch of stuff in the spring, probably nothing until then, but we're never idle for too long.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, it's good to hear.
It's great to be on the show, man. Thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
Thank you for doing it, man. I've been really looking forward to speaking with you.
Yeah, and I think you're gonna have. I think you're gonna talk to Kate and Daisy, right?
Actually, yeah, both of them.
That's Kate awesome. They're lovely humans and very awesome folks. And I may not have the post-tour depression, but I'm definitely miss seeing them every day as a band and as humans, because they're absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're obviously connected to them enough, and you will be seeing them again shortly, it seems. So
we got at least one more, maybe two legs of this tour to do. It's going to be in the spring.
Yeah, that's great.
That's how it shook out. So, and there's nothing wrong with focusing your activities, just playing with bands you like.
Well, I mean, that again, you kind of like are going back into your comfort levels, like exactly what you want to do and need to do for yourself, and it seems to be working out great.
Yeah, I mean, what complaints I have don't really matter, so I got no complaints.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for doing this, Conan. I really appreciate it, man.
And if anyone is for some reason checking this out and doesn't care about Machine Gun Etiquette, you should listen to the record. It's great.
Oh yeah,
and absolutely. I was excited that was the one that you picked too, because I was like, that's going to be a cool discussion, and did not disappoint. And if you're a purist that doesn't care about me or my music, sorry.
That's fine. That's fine, because that's the beauty about this too, is that like we got something else to focus on too. So don't worry about if one of these things doesn't suit your fancy necessarily.
Your eyes can like roll into the back of your head, and you can like disassociate for any time I'm talking about myself.
That's right. That's it. There you go. You can press mute or something. I don't know what you want to do. Do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, whatever people are up to. There's no wrong way to listen.
There you go. Well, thanks, Conan. It's been a great getting to know you, man.
Yeah. Likewise. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you deeply.
Vinyl and Vision is a Psychic Static production. Theme song written and performed by Jeff Robbins of 123 Astronaut.